Back in at 9:02. I'm Marcia Meekumber, your host here until 10 o'clock this morning. And I'm very excited to welcome our next guest today because I've been very excited to hear everything that she has to say. And that is Nan Arkwright. She is the founder and person of control, an occupational therapist here. She's been a pediatric occupational therapist in Walnut Creek for a long time. She has a number of books that she has written on sensory processing. She's also co-authored a computer program on school skills with illustrator Joe Bauman. And her book out right now is called Mission Control. Notice that's Mission: Control, a big feelings adventure. And if you've ever been a parent or a babysitter for a child who just kind of goes berserkers, and you can't get a control of them, nor does it seem that the child can get control of themselves, this is where Nan comes into play, and she's been doing this for quite a long time. So Nan Arkwright, welcome to the morning show in Sonoma. Thank you for being here.
Marcia, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be able to share what I have been writing about and doing in my private practice.
Yeah, and so it's great to have you here. So as I was telling you a little bit off air, I've been talking with a teacher who's just back in school, as are the children. And one of her early comments was how difficult it is, particularly with children who do not know how to conduct themselves in the schoolroom and the classroom. Tell us what this is like, because you've worked with thousands of kids and written books to help them out with this. What are you seeing out there?
Well, it is very difficult for children. They are really struggling in the classroom. Not all of them, of course, but many of them are struggling in ways that has never been true in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the results of COVID are apparent. And also, I think not only with the children, but the parents are feeling still the effects of COVID.
Yeah.
And COVID just did a number on us, and we're still really feeling that, and the stress that families are feeling from their work as parents as well as the work for children. And so I think that it's really hard for adults working with children to know really, how do you support kids? We've never been through this pandemic before, and everything's changed and everything's gotten harder.
Yeah. Definitely. This is absolutely true. This is where you come in because, parents have long, hard days to begin with. And of course, they want to spend quality time with their kids, but it gets munched down, into small bites. And what happens when kids kind of go off the rails? The kids don't know how to regulate their own emotions. Parents have experienced, kid who perhaps start having what's also known as the temper tantrum. They just kind of maybe start screaming and running around the room. The parent starts trying to talk to the kid to get them under control, and nothing registers. What do you do?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that, one of the reasons that I wrote that book that you mentioned, Mission Control, A Big Feelings Adventure, was because so many of the children didn't want to stop what they were doing because they were having fun, or start doing something that they didn't want to do because it's fun. And that was one of the things that I was hearing the most about, which was only about 4 years ago, right before the pandemic was when I started it, but it came out in 2021. And it was because doing hard things was really hard. It's really hard.
Yeah.
And adults working with children find it's really hard to get kids to do things that are really hard. And so that's what the purpose of that book was to help kids with their thinking. Like, this is hard, but their thinking is, this is hard, so I don't want to do it. They don't have other ideas of how to think about it. And so that's what that book is about. Well, you can use some self-control in these situations, but it's hard. But this is how our brain grows. But now, the most frequent concern that I hear from parents when they call me is that when things don't go their way, their child's way, they have a big upset. And parents are not sure how to handle that. And they really don't have tools because even though there's a lot of material out there about what do you do in these situations, it's still really hard
Yeah. Yeah.
to know how to apply that information to your child in your circumstances. And that's what I do in
Yeah.
my private practice is take all that information that I know and filter it down to that family's particular situation and give advice for that. So what I ended up doing is I decided to write book number 18, which is about how to handle different kinds of situations when they don't go your way. And it's a book about teaching how to think.
Yeah.
And so I think that my books are not only helpful for kids, but also for adults as well. And so really what I do with, well, there are some ideas that I have for the parents working with children or teachers working with children. It all comes from the top down. So if the parents are stressed, if they're having a hard time regulating their own emotions, then they don't are not modeling for their children. And they're not feeling in control and they're feeling uncomfortable with their child's discomfort with their emotions. And so it's really hard to know what to do. So
Right.
I think adults taking care of themselves. We hear a lot about
Hmm.
self-care, and it's still really, really hard to do that, even though we all know that that's the most important part 'cause it comes from us at the top and filters down to the kids. But it does. It's really, really important to get sleep, find time to yourself so that you are present and available to your children when they need you. And then you feel more in control in the situation and can then guide your child to know, I hear what you're saying, how hard it is. Let's figure out what to do. And mostly I suggest to families that they listen, listen, listen to their children, even though it to us as adults it might not make sense or it doesn't seem rational. To them, that's how they feel.
Right.
And so helping them get it out and allowing it to come out, and then being able to say, acknowledge that and really understand from their perspective how they're feeling. And then taking a little pause and saying, so what should we do? So the hard part is the taking time to listen to your child because it's hard to find time, first of all, but putting that time and energy up front means the problem solving part is actually easy
Hmm.
because kids actually know how to solve their own problems almost always. And so if they just need to be heard first.
Right.
And so if they can do that, then I mean, I do the same thing with them because they don't like doing things that I ask them to do sometimes also. And that's what I do, and that's what works. And helping them know, like, we'll do this. Let's figure out how we're going to do it because you don't want to do it, and I do want to do it. What should we do?
Yeah.
But first, I have to hear
Yeah.
what's it like. And usually, the underlying reason for the behaviors are fear and of some sort, fear that they can't do it, fear that they'll not be it won't be fun for them, but mostly it's like lack of confidence. They don't have the foundation skills lots of times to do what somebody's asking them to do, and so they don't want to do it, which
Yeah.
is understandable.
Yeah.
And they don't have a lot of experience of knowing that support scaffolding can be provided so they can be successful.
Yeah. I was going to say exactly. As adults, we don't like to do things that we
Yeah,
don't know how to do because
yeah,
we're afraid, we're going to be embarrassed,
exactly.
or that we don't have the skills and somebody's going to find out we don't have the skills to do something, whether or not that is making a sandwich in the kitchen or rocket science, doesn't matter. We don't
Right.
want to be found out that we don't know how to do something, no matter what it is. So there's a lot there. So great tips on, how to work with your child. Sounds like a number one out there is listen to your child first and make the time. Sounds like it also pays off a lot in dividends. Is that true? If you make the time
Yeah,
up
yeah,
front?
that's good. Yeah, connecting with your
Hmm.
child matters, taking time to just have fun with your child too. You know, I really like to think about just having joy with your child.
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, that's what I do. Like I'm older, so I'm like their grandmother age. And so I get to be like a grandmother, but also, of course, a therapist with boundaries and all those things. But I get to see because how cute they are and how much they have to offer to the world and how they just, every single child I work with wants to do what we ask them to do.
Yeah.
And they do if they can. And if they can't do it, then we look for the reason underlying that and provide the support for that. But they're all just cute and wanting to just get through the activity, get through the day, get through whatever it is, and have fun. And so one of the other things that comes out in a lot of my books is how can we make this fun? That's one important thing because almost everything with younger kids, can be fun,
Yeah.
especially younger kids. We can still make things fun for older kids too, but for younger kids who have fewer skills developed yet, they're not quite as equipped to handle some of the challenges emotionally. And so I think that that's really important too. And then I think the other thing that matters is that when a parent, we're talking mostly about parents now, can just be present, just sitting with a child. And there's even research that shows that you don't even have to do anything, just sit next to your child and they can focus better, they can get the work done. They just don't want to be alone to
Yeah.
do it because it feels too overwhelming and too impossible to do. And a lot of times they don't even know how to get started. But someone sitting next to you, those are two of the tools I use the most as just
Right.
let's do it together. Let's find a way to make it fun. And boy, as soon as I turn anything into a game, they're all in. It
Yes.
makes a world of difference.
Yeah. I bet it does. Which is
Yeah,
a sure way to get their attention, to get them
yeah,
through, particularly if, they think it's a skill that they don't have, but that they actually will be able to do the task at hand.
right, right.
You don't have to force it on them. Just take them, through it step by step. By doing it together, the hurdles and the obstacles melt away,
Right,
which is
right.
terrific. What are some of the common things that you hear from parents and students, the children, of their concerns and complaints when they get back to school? If I try to imagine going back many, many, many years to grade school, I would think that common things would be like, I don't like my teacher, or my teacher doesn't like me, or I don't like such and such classmate. And they're trying to figure out their way in their world, which is their school.
Hmm.
The obstacles in front of them are those kind of the common things, or have those concerns changed over the years?
Oh, concerns have changed over the years. Mostly what I'm hearing, sometimes starting as early as July,
Hmm.
kids are starting to get anxious about the new school year. So they get anxious about the current year ending because they feel competent. Like, okay, I know what to expect in this year. I know my teacher likes me. I know I like my teacher. I know who my classmates are. They feel somewhat in control because they've spent 180 days in that room.
That's right.
But then when it's time to start a new classroom, they don't have any idea of exactly what will happen, who their teacher will be, whether their friend will be in their class with them, whether they'll be able to do the work, I mean, and most kids don't worry too much about whether their teachers will like them or whether they'll like their teacher. I mean, I think that always kids like their teacher, and especially when they're younger, we're talking
Yeah.
about. Um, but it's the anxiety of not knowing. It's the unknown that
Ah.
really makes kids anxious. And then they have the what if questions. What if nobody likes me in my classroom? What if I don't have a friend? What if someone's mean to me? What if I don't know how to answer this problem? What if I miss all the questions on my test? Those kind of questions,
Ah.
which are big questions that they have in their mind. And again, sort of back to what I said earlier, like how do you think through those things? that's what I think some of my books are intended to do. How do you handle this? Because these are real
Right.
concerns, and we need tools. We need to equip the kids with what to do in those situations. And those are hard questions, and they're hard questions for me too, because they're just difficult because I can't always answer the questions. I don't know what situation they're getting into either.
Yeah.
So I try to just teach them how to handle things and how to be prepared. If this happens, what can you do? But it's not just anxiety about the start of the school year. It's anxiety about a lot of different things
Right.
too. And so I'm trying to build really the foundation for how do you handle unexpected things, which actually is one of the titles of one of my books. And expect the unexpected,
Yeah.
because that's what life is for all of us, adults as well. And all kinds of things come under that situation. We all come into that situation in our days. So can you feel prepared and equipped for those kind of things? That's what I try to help kids with back to school.
Yeah. Yeah. They need all the help that they can get, particularly
Yeah,
when they're feeling uncertain of themselves and their circumstances. It can
right.
produce a fair amount of anxiety, which you're helping them out with, Nan Arkwright. And
Well, it is.
where can the people find your books? And tell us about your website a little bit so folks know where to find that.
Oh, thanks for asking. So my website is a hop, skip, and a jump ahead.com. And that's where all my books are. And that's where I'd love for people to go first, because for every book, I have all kinds of resources for adults for how to handle difficult situations like we're talking about that go with each book, and also fun hands-on activities for kids. So it's a wealth of information on my website if you
Yeah,
just go there, and then also videos that tell a whole lot more about each book and
that's
the
right.
kinds of things we're talking about today. And then also on there, there are links that'll take you to Amazon. But also, if you go to Amazon and just click on my name, Nan Arkwright, my
That's right.
books will come up.
That's right. And probably just a quick little Google, Nan Arkwright author. And Nan's books will come up and her website. And her books cover so many different topics that have children concerned about their day and their future and their relationships and how to navigate school and all that. So you will find a wealth of resources on Nan's website. Again, that's a hop, skip, and jump ahead.com. Nan Arkwright, occupational therapist, pediatric occupational
Uh,
therapist. Just to be really clear there, thank you so much for your time this morning. Very much
Thank you for
appreciate
having
it.
me. It's fun.
All
Thank you so.
right. Thanks, Nan. You have a great week. Thanks.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Bye bye.